not seeing a lot of people voting. We're putting up numbers. Seeing a lot of ones, so we'll do that one, and then for the other one, if you were a 2, raise your hand. If you were a 3, raise your hand. If you were a 4, raise your hand. And 5. And 5. Okay, I think 3 and 4 kind of tied, so we'll do 1, 3, and 4 today. Remember that with these, you can always go back, check your notes, ask each other. So with 1, evaluating g of 7, is this x or is this y? Oh, is this given x or y? X, we're looking for y. So we would put that in for all of our x's. 7 squared would give us 49. When you multiplied 5 and 49, what did you get for that? Notice. 245. Okay. So then 243 should have been our g of x. Questions on that one? For 3, see if we remember some of our vocab. Is this a discrete function or a continuous function? Discrete. So all the points are separated. It's not drawn together in one continuous line, which means we're going to list out our domain and range, least to greatest, in curly brackets. Domain, what was that least to greatest? Per domain? Okay, I think that's our -3. Oh. Yep. And then for our range, least to greatest, so lowest to highest, Otis? So if you wrote anything other than that, make sure you fix that. Questions on that one? And then 4, now this one is continuous. So when you list out your domain and range, it should start off like this. Before we continue this, I do want to mention for 5, you also have to say something about something being reflected. I'll let you figure that part out. So domain, furthest point to the left, and furthest point to the right would be at -5 and +4. And then lowest and highest would be at -5 and 6. So both your domain and range should look like this. Questions on that one? Make sure your name is on your answer sheet and go ahead and pass that up. Talk about today. Look at the calendar. Couple things I need to mention. One, you'll notice that this is short. This is only one objective. But it doesn't really go well with other objectives, so we're kind of separating it from other units. Also notice that the summative will not be a test, it'll be an activity, which is, again, why this unit is so short. So today we're going to talk about how to do this, how to find these things. We'll do a little bit more practice, and then you'll do an activity, and then take your quiz next class. And then after that, go over that, and then you'll do a bigger activity. This doesn't really apply to any of you guys because you all finished your test. But moving forward, if you didn't finish a test like the last test, I'm going to start putting your name on the board where it says missing unit tests next to the class codes. None of your names are up there right now because you all finished your test. And you'll have until the next unit to finish that test. Otherwise, I'm going to grade it as is. So keep that in mind. Most of you do that anyway, so I'm not really worried about that. Had it been for this test, because this is so short, I would have given you until the Unit 7 test, which will be beginning of March. Questions on that part first? Some of you started your retake process last class. Some of you finished that. Some of you still need to work on it. If you get your retake process done by our next flex day, which is the 10th, so the day after we finish this, you can retake then. If you don't, you'll need to come in before or after school to get that done. So keep that in mind. Your Khan Academy quizzes, as I mentioned earlier, will be due on the 10th, so next Friday for this. So you'll have 3 formatives, 2 Khan Academy assignments, quizzes, and then 1 actual quiz in class, and then 1 summative grade for this. When we get to that activity, I'll explain how that works and These pink sheets you'll be able to use on the activity for your summative, but not on the quiz, so you'll need to know and kind of memorize the steps we're going to talk about today. As well as be able to talk to each other next class about them. Right. So we're going to be going back and forth between the calculator and desmos. That way, whichever you prefer on the activity, on the quiz, you'll be able to do either or. And then we'll talk more about what happens if you miss that day or whatever later. So you, I feel like, did some of this stuff in middle school, like eyeing the line of best fit, scatter plots, stuff like that. You may or may not have done that. That's kind of what this goes into. Finding a line that best fits whatever data is given. So let's do some review first on how we can find data, put stuff in, things like that. So this first table, if we're given this equation, one way to do this would be by hand. Put in all of these x values, find the y values. So we'll do this one by hand. We'll do the next one in the calculator /desmos. So put in each of these x values where the x is and find your y value. So this will be 3 times -2 minus 4. 3 times -1 minus 4. 3 times 0 minus 4. And so on and so forth. What would 3 times -2 minus 4 give us? -10. 3 times -1 minus 4? -7. 3 times 0 minus 4? 3 times 1 minus 4? 1, and then the last one, 3 times 2 minus 4. Right? You should have seen a pattern. Each of these are going down by 3, up by 3, sorry. And that's really because of your slope. You're going up 1 over 1 every time. So all of those play a part with each other. That was a little time consuming, putting each one in. That's what we did when we evaluated our functions. But now we're going to be using our calculator, desmos, a lot more. So I'll do it both ways. In the calculator, you would go into your y equals. Oh, first, clear out your calculator. Second, plus 712. Go into your y equals and type in the equation at the top, negative 2x plus 5. Remember, you can use this for x by alpha. And you're going to go into the table, second graph, and find those values, negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 4. Write those in. So 13, 9, 5, 1, and negative 3. It looks that way, but it's also, the x values are skipping by 2. So it's actually going down by 2 each time. If we had the individual ones, we would see that. In Desmos, you would kind of do the same thing. Add the plus, add a table, put in your x values. Negative 4, negative 2. Once you start putting them in, it recognizes the pattern, and once you hit enter, it puts them in for you, the rest of them in for you, except it didn't do that last one. Oh, I skipped a step, sorry. Let's backtrack. Put in your equation first, then we're going to choose the table. You can put in y equals, you don't have to, doesn't matter. You could look at the points, zoom in and zoom out, or you could make this a table, go to your gear wheel, do this. But all of your values won't be there, so you'll have to add in more values. That's what I meant to do. Negative 4, negative 2's up there, 0's up there. You can also get rid of values. It's out of order, but you would have to just put it in order. So 13, 9, 5, 1, negative 3. Questions how to use the table on the calculator or on Desmos so far? I feel like this is something we've done before, but we're going to be using it a lot, so I just want to make sure that we did remember how to do that and stuff like that. Great. So we're going to be using this set of data, this table right here. First, in the calculator, I'm going to show you all the steps. On the pink sheet I gave you, there are 2 sides. One is Desmos, one is calculator. So if you get lost, the steps are there, as well as on your notes as well. 1, you need to know which one is your x, which one is your y. Usually it'll say something about x or y, or if you're not sure, whichever one is the dependent, whichever depends on the other, that's your y. So in this, would time spent depend on grade, or would grade depend on time? Grade would depend on time. So the grade would be your y. The time would be your x. So then we're going to start putting this into your calculator. Find the stat button right next to your arrows. Click that button, and you should see the screen. Scroll to the right. I'm sorry, no. It's already on edit. Hit enter or 1. So when you went into stat, hit enter. And you'll see like a table, kind of like ours, but it says L1, L2. Your X's are going to go in L1. Your Y's are going to go in L2. So you're going to start putting those in. You can either put them in and hit enter, or you can put them in and type the down arrow. So either or, start putting those in for L1 and L2. And once you've done that, look back up here. Okay, couple things. If you do plan on using the calculator for activities and stuff like that, if these numbers at the end don't match up, you either put in one too many numbers or are missing a number, so always double check that these are even. If you want to clear out a number, you can do that by hitting by hitting delete and moving away from it. If you want to clear out an entire list, and we'll do this a couple times, you're going to go all the way up to the top and hit clear, not delete, because it'll delete the whole list and then we have to re-add it. It's a whole thing. All right, so from here, we're going to go back into stat. And now we're going to scroll over to the right where it says calculate. But calculate is what that stands for. And of these things, what looks the most familiar so far? What looks like a format that we may have used, but maybe the variables are different. Regina? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the A here is like our M. They just use A. I don't really know why. But 4 is what we're going to be using for at least now. So you can either scroll down to 4, hit enter, or just hit 4, either or. Okay. On this screen, make sure this says X list L1, Y list L2. If those don't say that, let me know. It should, especially since we've reset it. Sometimes students change those. And then we're going to scroll down to store regression equation, is what that stands for. And we're going to hit alpha trace. And you're going to get this menu. This helps us store an equation, especially if it has like a bunch of decimals, so we don't have to write every single decimal and things like that. Pick your favorite y equation. I always go with the first one. And then you can either scroll down to calculate, hit enter, or just keep hitting enter until your screen changes. So the random points we put in, the random data we put in, this is the line that best fits it. It's not exact. It may not touch every single point, but this line best fits it. The points surround this line the best. So when we write this equation, I would say write 2 decimal places. So you can round 6.01, 53.62. On the next page is where you would write this. y equals 6.01, x plus 53.6. That would be our line of best fits. After we find that, then we use our calculator to to predict different stuff. Like predict the grade given for a student who studied for 0 hours. So this part is like written, my handwriting on your sheet. I don't think it's on this. So if you want to write these in your notes, you can. We're going to put 0 into our calculator. So just type 0 from the screen. And we're going to store it, STO, right above on, as X. And then hit enter. It'll look like nothing's really changed, but what you did is put 0 in for the value of X. And then we're going to go back and grab our equation that we stored from alpha trace. So hit alpha, hit trace. Wherever you stored your equation, grab it, hit enter, and then enter again. And you should get this number. Did anyone not get that number? Anyone else not get that answer? So what it did was all the decimals and stuff we saw, it put 0 in for X and it solved it for us. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this on the calculator. You choose if you're using a calculator. So our answer here would be 53.62. For 6, we're going to do this the other way. We know that since these are number of hours and that was X, we want our X value to be 6. And we're looking for our Y value. So go into your graph. Go into second trace. And we want to find the value, so 1, when X is 6. So put in 6, hit enter, and it'll tell you what your Y value is. So if you like the store option better, you can keep using that. If you like the graph option, that's also fine. So 89.69, round it. And then this last one is a little different because now we're looking for how many hours we need to study to get greater than 100%. So we're going to use the table to find this. Go into your table second graph. Remember that all the X's are your hours, all the Y's are the grades. So we're looking for where do we get greater than 100%. So start scrolling until you see greater than 100. So we could say at 8 hours, if we wanted to be a little bit more specific, we could change this. So let's say we wanted to be more specific. We could go into second window. Change this first one to 8. And let's say we want to change this to 0.5. Go back into your table after you change those things. Second graph. And now I can see still at 8 it goes over 100. But in between 7.5 and 8 is really where it happens. So if I wanted to find even more specifically, I could change it again. Second window. Let's say I want to start this at 7.5, but maybe change this one to 0.1 instead. And then go back to my table, second graph. So now I see a little bit more clearly where this changed. So like at 7.8, it was greater than 100. So I could write that. You could keep doing that if you want to find the exact, but 7.8 is fine. We didn't put labels on these because that was their grade. That would be like percentage. But this one, because it's asking for hours, make sure we're putting hours. There is another table on the second page, but I want to use the same data in Desmos so you see kind of the differences. But we can just write this information here. Okay. Before we do Desmos, questions on the calculator? It's a lot. So if you prefer to use Desmos, I'm okay with that. In Desmos, so if you're not paying attention in Desmos right now, just make sure you're following along here. Clear out everything you have. And then your first step is to make a table. So click your plus, click table, and you're going to put in those same points we did in the calculator, the ones from the first page. And once you've made them all or got them all in the table, look back up here. After this problem, those of you without your computer, I'm going to let you grab your phone to use Desmos. That way you can practice it as well. In your next line, so your next available line, you're going to type this in. So you can either use the keyboard or actually your keyboard. You're going to type Y and then 1. When you do that, it automatically makes it this sub 1. And then in the keyboard here, there's this squiggly line called a tilde. If you're on your keyboard, it's, I had it, I lost it. Above tab, I think you have to do shift that. And then what's nice about this is it's going to be the same as like our slope intercept, except a little different. It'll be mx1 plus b. So it'll look similar to our slope intercept form, but it has y1 and x1 because our table had x1 and y1. From there, it'll give you what your slope is, what your y-intercept is. Write that in the next line. Use all the decimals. you'll see that 2 lines appeared, one when you put this in, one when you type this in. That's fine. So the line of best fit we already figured that out, but this would be what you write, or you can round it to 2 decimal places like we did. Before I show you how to find the answers, do we have questions on how to put it in? On this, a lot of the times, especially when you get bigger numbers like 98, 76, 88, you're not seeing all of your numbers here. So a little magnifying glass should pop up. So if you click that, you'll be able to see those points. And you'll see that this line doesn't touch all the points or even any of them, but it best fits it, goes through them. They're kind of centered around this line the most. To find your answers, you could do one of 2 things. You can either go into the equation you did, make this into a table like how we did in the review part, go into the gear wheel, type the table, or hit the table. And then put in your x value. So 0 is already up there. I can put in 6. So 53.62, 89.69, those are still accurate. The 100, so I'm going to show this and then show the other way, is tricky because you can't put in y values, so you have to play this guessing game. What would be close to 100? I know 6 gives me 89, so let's say I said like 10. Well, that goes over 100, so let's get something closer, like 9. Okay, 8. All right, then you can start playing with it. 7.5, that's close. 7.6. I don't know what I just did. 0.6. Here we go. Okay. Also close. 7.8. And then you can keep playing with it like that. But it becomes like a guessing game if you're using the table. Questions on that process? Otis? I'll make you a pass. Right. The other one, you may like this way better. We'll see. Go ahead. Is in your next open line. If we know 0 and 6 are x values, you can put x equals whatever. So x equals 0. It's going to give you a line. Find where those 2 lines intersect. And that would be your answer. 53.62. Same thing with 6. I'm going to just change the 0 to a 6. Find where those lines intersect. That would be your answer. And then same thing for 100. You would just have to remember that's your y value. So change that. So y equals 100. Find where those 2 lines intersect. 7.715 would be the exact amount of hours needed to get 100%. So whichever method you like better, calculator, desmos, desmos with table, desmos with this, calculator with table, calculator with store, that is up to you. Okay. Questions on how we use desmos? I know there was a lot, and there was one. Right. So there's one specific type of problem I need to show you that's a little different. If you don't have your laptop with you, go grab your phone and find the graphing Desmos calculator. And then just so I see where we are, who likes using the calculator better? Okay. Okay. And then I'm assuming the rest of us like desmos. So we'll do one in the calculator, one in desmos. So on the next page, we're going to do 2 of these. The bottom 2, 3, and 4, because those are a little different. The one with a lot of data, we'll do that one in desmos, and then number 4 in the calculator. Right? If you didn't previously do this in desmos, you won't have all this stuff, but if you were already in desmos, you can either clear out everything or just make a new table. But if you make a new table, notice that this is going to say x2, y2. So when you type in everything, you're now going to have to put 2 instead of 1. So just keep that in mind. I'm just going to get rid of everything so I don't have to fix stuff. Before we go through the table, one thing that I need you guys to fix. Whenever you see years, you're going to change them so that the first year is always 0. Every year after that is how many years has it been since the original. So from 1920 to 1925, how many years was that? 5. So this would now be 5. The next one is not from 1925, but from 1920. So 1920 to 1930, how many years has that been? 10. 1920 to 1935. 15. A lot of these will have a pattern, some of them won't. So don't assume these are all going to count by 5. Make sure they actually all count by 5s. And if they do, then you can follow that pattern and continue. 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 65, 70, 75. Then once all your numbers are changed, then you can put that into desmos. These stay the same. Those are, you are not going to put in 1920. You're going to put in 0, 5, 10, Regina. The plus. Right, so you can start putting those in. Again, once you put in enough, it'll recognize the pattern. Whoa. Thea, can you keep it on? Okay, JK. Hit not in this session. There we go. Wait, 0? No, that's not typing. There we go. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 20. Yep. Oh, too many. Great. Be careful with your decimals. Make sure you're putting them all. you want to move on to the next step and want to try it on your own, feel free. If you want to wait for me, that's also fine. If you're waiting for me, when you're finished, look back up here. As you start to finish, go ahead and type in Y1, the tilde or the squiggly line, MX1 plus B. If you need my help finding any of those things or typing that in, raise your hand, I'll be around. Go ahead and write that down for your line of best fit for question 3. Again, 2 decimal places, so y equals 0.23x plus 56.06. It's all the way down the bottom. Anyone not get the line of best fit? The question is asking about life expectancy in 2010. So as we did this, we have to change this. How many years has it been from 1920 to 2010? Yes. So then you could do one of two things. Either, well first, is this X or is this Y? So you can put X equals 90 on Desmos and see where those two lines intersect. Or you can type this in, make that a table, put 90 in your X values. I'm just going to hit X equals 90 and see where those are. So 77.03. We would write this as years because that's what it's looking for. Anyone need me to do it in the table format? Alright, questions on how we got either of those? I'm going to do the next one in the calculator, but if you want to still use Desmos, go for it. If you would rather use the calculator, also go for it. As we did before, we're going to change every year. What's nice about anything that starts with 2000 is it'll start with 0, and then every year after is just whatever the end year is. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. But this only works for 2000. Everything else you have to count how many years it's been since. Right, so if you are doing it in Desmos, I would follow along with your instructions, the pink sheet, or in your notes. I'm going to be doing the calculator stuff up here. If you like calculator better, you're going to go back into stat, go back into edit. You're going to have stuff from before. You're going to go up to the top and hit clear, and then come back down for book. And then you're going to put those values in. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 12. And 4, 4, 4, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 6, 1. Again, if you're using the calculator, you can go back to stat, scroll over to calculate, down to number 4, hit enter, or just hit 4. These should be the same because we didn't change them. But go down and store the regression equation, alpha trace, whichever one you want, and enter until it changes. Those of you using desmos should have gotten a similar decimals, 179.61. If you're rounding, 4553.93 again if you're rounding. Write that down for your line of best fit. Drop all of those numbers. 196.1. Was how many years since 2000? So that's what you would change that to. So if you're in Desmos, you can do x equals 20, do it in the table, either or. If you're in the calculator, either look in your table, do the value, either or. I'm going to do the value graph. You won't see it because the numbers are really big. So I'm going to go into Zoom. Will be a really good one. I think Zoom Fit is like my go-to. Then usually you can see it. And then second trace value when x is 20. Oh, because my things aren't big enough. So if something like that happens, that's where I would just change my method and go in and store it instead. So 20 STOX and then alpha trace. So that should have been the same number you guys got if you were using Desmos. 8146.07, but it's in millions. Do we have any questions on how we use the calculator, how we use Desmos to find answers, to put it in, anything like that? I want you to get good practice at this, so there are other practice problems. I want you to pick one, does not matter which one. Practice it in either Desmos or the calculator. Again, does not matter which one. After you do that, you can try the Khan Academies that are due next Friday. Let me know if you need my help putting any of that in, finding answers, Khan Academy help, any of that.